The Raw at SummerSlam has officially wrapped up, and man, this was a very amazing show. Arguably, you can make an argument it's the best show of the year. But it starts off with a Gunther promo, comes out as your new World Heavyweight Champion. He got a good introduction from Ludwig Kaiser, comes in the ring. He ends up mentioning all of the accomplishments. He mentions his King of the Ring victory, mentions his being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. You know, of course, he's confident. He's praising himself, mentioning how basically he's going to, bring prestige to the World Heavyweight Championship and how he's ready for any challenger that comes his way. Then you hear Randy Orton theme song. Randy Orton comes out, he comes in the ring, he congratulates Gunther, but he ends up alluding to that I'm the reason that you're World Heavyweight Champion and that you didn't actually beat me in the King of the Ring tournament, that my shoulders weren't down. And he ends up saying that basically, I want a rematch and I want my challenge at Bash in Berlin, and Gunther ends up accepting. So it looks like we're getting Gunther versus Randy Orton at Bash in Berlin, which I am very excited for. I hope their match is better than last time because I still think that match I thought it was a good match, but I didn't think it was as good as people were saying it was. I thought that for me, it was a little slow and it wasn't as hard hitting. I didn't think the match was as good as people said it was, but I thought it was a good match overall. But I felt like it was just a really good Raw match, not a good pay-per-view match, if that makes sense. But I'm excited for it. We know Gunther is most likely winning that match, but I'm very excited to see how that match plays out. We get a very hard-hitting match between Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. They're still continuing their rivalry. Ludwig Kaiser is officially back from injury, so he's back in the feud with Sheamus. Start off with them brawling outside the ring. Sheamus getting the upper hand, but then later on in the match, Ludwig starts getting an advantage and starts dominating a good portion of the match. He even hit his signature drop kick on the steel steps. Sheamus eventually ends up making a comeback and he starts getting the upper hand on Ludwig Kaiser. During the match though on the outside, it was a moment on the outside, Sheamus threw Ludwig in the ring and Pete Dunne comes out and tries to attack Sheamus again, but he ends up missing. Sheamus is avoiding Pete Dunne and hitting Pete Dunne with a bro kick. Then Sheamus gets back in the ring. Ludwig Kaiser tries to take advantage, but he can't, and Sheamus is hitting the bro kick for the victory. I'm very surprised of Sheamus picking up the victory. Well, not really that surprised, but I'm very interested to see where this goes because I don't know where this goes long term. I'm interested in the feud. I think the feud has been really good, but very interested to see who wins this feud because personally, I feel like someone like Ludwig should win. I don't know. I feel like at this point in Sheamus' career, he should be the one putting other talent over, not him beating talent, but you still need to keep him strong. So this feud is far from over, but I'm very interested to see how this feud ends when it's officially over. Now, we get Damian Priest. We get his promo. He comes out immediately to the ring. He's frustrated. He's angry, of course, from Finn Balor throwing him over. He wants Finn Balor to come out to the ring, but Finn Balor isn't coming out. Then he starts mentioning how Finn screwed him over, how he mentions his backstory of him always being alone, how he never been with, he really never had family, but he ends up mentioning that Judgment Day was the family that took him in. He trusted those people. They made him feel like he belonged, but then his brother stabbed him in the back, and then he realized that he has a new family, which is the WWE fans. The WWE crowd was very over with Damian Priest. They was cheering him on. Like, he was getting really good babyface reaction. I hope that continues because I like Damian Priest as a babyface so far. Then he constantly asks for Finn Balor to constantly come out. Finn Balor pops up on the Titantron. Of course, he doesn't come out. He's on the Titantron. He ends up saying that, look, everything that is happening is your fault. This is your fault, that it's all your fault. We said there was no leaders in the Judgment Day. You got too arrogant and cocky, which is somewhat true. Then he starts mentioning that you also screwed me out of the World Heavyweight Championship match against Seth last year, which is true and kind of not because technically Damian Priest screwed him, but Finn Balor also screwed himself in that match as well. But he constantly ends up saying that, look, this is your fault. You got too arrogant. You got too cocky. It was no leaders, but you wanted to be the leader, so this is all your fault. Then he starts mentioning how that he's not going to fight him yet. He's going to wait for the perfect opportunity when Damian gets too comfortable to attack, and that he's going to give it to someone who actually deserves to fight him, which is JD McDonough. Then he ends up mentioning that he ain't going to be the only one that will attack him. Then he pops up and shows all the brand new Judgment Day with Carlito, Dom, Liv Morgan himself, and JD McDonough. They all just standing in the camera posing. That was great. This was a really great segment. Damian Priest rushes out to try to go look for them and try to fight them. This was amazing. This feud is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what's next for what's going to happen on the next episode of Monday Night Raw because this is really good. This is really good. And this is only the beginning stages of this Finn Balor and Damian Priest feud. I can't wait. We get Lyra Valkyria versus Shayna Baszler. This match gets interrupted. It stops between when Sonya Deville and Zoe Stark interfere in the match when they saw Sonya Deville was about to lose. They attack Lyra Valkyria, but then Damage Control comes in and makes the save, and they end up taking out Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, and Shayna Baszler. This leads into a match later on. It was supposed to be between Sonya Deville and Dakota Kai, but later in the show, they end up injuring Dakota Kai, which led to Io Sky versus Sonya Deville, which Io Sky ends up picking up the victory. This is basically going to be a feud of who is the better faction, who is the more dominant faction. They're fighting over who's the #1 faction on Monday Night Raw in the women's division, which I'm very interested to see. I kind of don't like this direction because I kind of feel like I know who's going to win this feud, which is the Damage Control. And I get that Damage Control is they're the more popular faction, but they're mainly over because of Io Sky. And if we're being honest, Io Sky should just be a single star without Damage Control, in my opinion. So that's kind of why I don't like this, because I feel like Damage Control is going to win the feud, and I feel like this isn't going to help either one. I feel like you could do a thing where Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Sonya Deville win the feud, which leads to Damage Control breaking up, because the only person that really works is Io Sky in this faction. Everyone else is just not over. I feel like if you just, I don't know, that's just me, but let's just see how this plays out. But for me personally, I'm not really liking this because I feel like I already know how this is going to end with Damage Control winning. So we get a quick segment with Ivy Nile and Maxxine Dupri. Ivy Nile was talking to the Creed brothers, then Maxxine Dupri interrupts. Then she's mentioning, why she's hanging out with the Creed brothers. They've been constantly attacking Alpha Academy, why she's hanging out with them. Ivy is trying to, make excuses for them, trying to, stand by their side. But then Chad Gable comes in, basically ends up saying that, look, you should not be talking to her. She's not valuable. She has nothing worth of value. You need to stop talking to her. It looks like they're teasing something between Ivy Nile and Maxxine Dupri, because it looks like Ivy Nile isn't a full heel. So it looks like they're going to probably slowly turn her into a heel, or they may end up having her be a babyface with Maxxine Dupri. Don't know, but it looks like they're going to be teasing a storyline between Maxxine Dupri and Ivy Nile. Now we get CM Punk. CM Punk comes out the ring. He cuts a promo. He mentions his loss, but he ends up mentioning how he's still happy. He mentions the reason why he's still happy is because he's still here and that this is only the beginning. He mentions how his career could have been ended at Royal Rumble when Drew McIntyre injured him. He mentions how, he was supposed to be gone for a long time, but he came back sooner than expected. He starts mentioning, Drew McIntyre constantly talking trash about him, how he injured him, how he prayed for it. Then he starts mentioning how he wants Drew McIntyre to come out and he's ready for a fight. Then Seth Rollins comes out. Seth Rollins comes out, takes off his shirt, gets on the microphone, ends up saying that he's been waiting 10 years to finally put CM Punk in the dirt. He's about to get in the ring, but then Drew McIntyre comes out in the microphone, comes from the crowd, starts talking on the mic, and he ends up basically kind of instigates a little bit. He ends up wanting Drew McIntyre and CM Punk's attention, but the whole time Drew McIntyre is talking, they're not even paying attention to Drew McIntyre. They're just staring at each other. CM Punk and Seth are just staring at each other, bro. Drew McIntyre is still talking. He mentioning his victory. Then he ends up saying that, look, since you guys don't want to pay attention to me, I know what's going to make you pay attention. He starts bringing up the necklace. He's holding up the necklace. CM Punk hears it, and then he chases Drew McIntyre out of the building. This is a really good segment. And then shortly after, as he chased, Drew McIntyre out the building, out of nowhere, you get Bronson Reed attacking Seth Rollins. He immediately attacks Seth Rollins. He destroyed Seth Rollins. He ended up hitting 6 tsunamis on him. He kept getting on the top rope over and over and over again, hitting tsunami after tsunami after tsunami. The security was useless in this segment. Now, a lot of people are criticizing this segment because security was useless, but they have always been like that, so I didn't mind it. And this is what Bronson Reed needed. Bronson Reed needed this. He got crazy heel heat for this. Now, Bronson Reed ended up doing this because earlier in the show, he was wondering why Sheamus got a match after he beat Sheamus last week. And he ended up saying that if you're not going to give me opportunities, basically, I gotta make a way for me to get opportunities. I gotta force my way, basically. And this is him forcing his way. This is great. This is the most heel heat he ever got. This is amazing. Bronson Reed needed this. I'm excited. I hope they keep building this monster. My only fear is that when Seth Rollins comes back, they're just going to make him lose immediately, and that's it. That's my only fear. But right now, I'm loving what they're doing with Bronson Reed. This was amazing. Next, we get Authors of Pain versus New Day. The New Day ended up picking the victory. During the match, Odyssey Jones comes out and ends up attacking Karrion Kross and ends up helping the New Day. He ends up taking out both of the Authors of Pain members of Akam and Razar, And this was great. He got a crazy pop too. I know who Odyssey Jones is. Majority of the crowd probably didn't know because he was off TV for a long time. They called him up but never used him. They finally found something, so it looks like he's going to be the new third member of the New Day. I'm excited to see how this plays out. But there was a segment after the match. It was Odyssey, Kofi, and Xavier. Kofi was mentioning, you know, how he hit up Odyssey Jones to help him, but Xavier Woods didn't seem too happy. He was kind of, you know, he was playing along, but he seemed like he didn't like that Kofi asked Odyssey to join. So it looks like they could be teasing a potential heel turn, him turning on Kofi, but it's a little too soon. But I'm very interested to see how this story plays out. Next, we get JD Madonna versus Finn Balor. This was a really good match, but the match ended up ending with the Judgment Day. Finn Balor ends up attacking Damian Priest from behind when Damian Priest is about to pick up the victory. They're constantly attacking. All Judgment Day members comes in, they attack Damian Priest, but Damian Priest ends up overpowering him and start making a comeback. He takes out Damian, he takes out JD, takes out Dom, takes out Carlito. Then it's just Finn Balor and Damian Priest in the ring. Finn Balor ends up running away from Damian Priest. Liv Morgan ends up blocking him off. Then Damian Priest is distracted by Liv Morgan. Dominic Mysterio comes in and they start jumping him again. He's getting jumped, and then out of nowhere, you hear Rhea Ripley theme music hits. She comes out, you know, Dom, Liv, they start running, but Rhea Ripley ends up catching Liv Morgan, attacking her, ramming her into the ring post. She rammed her in the ring post like 3 times. She was about to do the Razor's Edge on the announce table, but Dominic Mysterio ends up saving her. JD Madonna is still in the ring fighting Damian Priest, but Rhea Ripley ends up distracting JD Madonna. She ends up headbutting him. Then Damian Priest ends up doing the South to Heaven choke slam. Then, you know, the crowd is going crazy for Damian and Rhea Ripley. Then they end up hugging it out. So it's official that them two are going to be a new duo facing this new Judgment Day. This story is amazing. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. This has been amazing. Triple H cooked this episode. This episode overall, he cooked. This was a very great segment. Now we get to the main event. The Creed brothers, aka American Made versus the Wyatt Six, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, and Dexter Lumis. This was everything it needed to be. This was a really good match. The Wyatt Six ended up picking up the victory. They dominated a good portion of the match. This was really good. This was really great. Their entrance was so dope. They had a very dope entrance. Everything that needed to happen, happened. This was great. It's a good thing they weren't on SummerSlam. This is exactly what they needed. They needed to be the main event of Raw. They got the perfect TV time that they deserve. This was great. This is a great way to build them. I can't wait to see what's next for them. But that's the end of everything that happened on Monday Night Raw. You guys let me know your opinions down below. This was a great episode overall. This is probably the best episode of Monday Night Raw, arguably. You guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.